complete history of Kenworth, the truck company that built the open road. Before Kenworth became one of the most respected names in trucking, before its long nose rigs thundered across highways, before its trucks crossed deserts, mountains, forests, cities, farms, borders, and endless open roads, it began with a problem. A hard, dirty, practical problem. How do you move heavy loads through places that were never built for easy travel? How do you haul timber out of forests? How do you carry freight across rough ground? How do you build a truck strong enough for work that does not forgive weakness? In the early 20th century, the world was changing. Cities were growing, roads were spreading, industry was expanding, railways still ruled long-distance freight, but a new machine was beginning to challenge the old order: the motor truck. It was not glamorous at first. It was loud, slow, hard to drive, difficult to maintain, but it could go where rails could not. And that made it powerful. From logging roads in the Pacific Northwest to the long highways of America, trucks would become the machines that connected factories, farms, ports, towns, cities, and people. And among the names that rose with that world, one would become legendary: Kenworth. A name built from two men, Harry Kent, Edgar Worthington. A name that would become linked with strength, custom engineering, owner-operators, long-haul trucking, diesel power, and the open road. This is the complete history of Kenworth, the truck company that built the open road. Chapter 1: The World Before Kenworth. To understand Kenworth, you have to understand the world before modern trucking. In the early 1900s, freight moved differently. Railways carried heavy goods across long distances. Ships moved cargo along coasts and rivers. Horses still worked in towns, farms, and yards. Roads were often poor. Many were muddy, narrow, unpaved, and unreliable. A journey that feels simple today could become a struggle of wheels, weather, and patience. But industry was changing. The United States was growing quickly. Timber, mining, agriculture, construction, manufacturing, and trade all needed transport that was more flexible than rail. A train could move huge loads, but only where tracks existed. A truck could go closer to the source, closer to the forest, closer to the farm, closer to the mine, closer to the customer. That flexibility changed everything. But early trucks had to prove themselves. They needed stronger frames, better engines, better cooling, better brakes, better transmissions. They needed to survive rough roads, heavy loads, long days, and drivers who expected machines to work as hard as they did. The truck was not just a vehicle, it was a tool. And in the Pacific Northwest, where forests, hills, wet roads, and logging operations demanded toughness, the need for strong trucks was obvious. This was the world Kenworth was born into. Not a world of polished show trucks and chrome. A world of mud, timber, steel, sweat, and work. Chapter 2: The Gerlinger and Gersix. Beginning. Before the name Kenworth existed, there was another name connected to the story: Gersix. The Gersix truck was an early heavy-duty vehicle with a 6-cylinder engine, built for serious work at a time when many trucks were still primitive. It came from the world of practical engineering. The goal was not to build something pretty. The goal was to build something that could haul, something that could survive, something that could do the job when roads were poor and loads were heavy. In those early years, the truck industry was still open. There were many small builders, many experiments, many companies that appeared, struggled, changed hands, or disappeared. The future had not yet settled into the famous names people know today. But the need was real. Logging companies needed trucks. Construction companies needed trucks. Businesses needed trucks. America was becoming more mobile, more industrial, and more dependent on machines that could carry heavy loads beyond the railway line. Out of that need came a company that would soon take a new name: Kenworth. Chapter 3: Kent, Worthington, and a New Name. In 1923, Harry Kent and Edgar Worthington formed Kenworth. The name was simple and clever: Kent. Worthington, Kenworth. It sounded strong, it sounded practical, it sounded like a machine built for the job. And that is what Kenworth set out to make. From the beginning, Kenworth became known for building trucks suited to customer needs. This mattered because trucking was not one simple business. A logging company did not need the same truck as a city delivery company. A construction hauler did not need the same truck as a long-distance freight operator. A mountain road did not ask the same questions as a flat highway. Kenworth understood that trucks had to be built around work. The company developed a reputation for custom engineering, for listening to what customers needed and building machines that could handle specific jobs. That reputation would become central to the Kenworth identity. Kenworth was not just selling trucks, it was selling confidence. Confidence that when the load was heavy, the grade was steep, the road was rough, and the day was long, the truck would keep going. Chapter 4: Logging roads and hard work. Kenworth's early story is tied closely to the Pacific Northwest. This was a region of forests, timber, rain, hills, and difficult roads. Logging was brutal work. Trees were cut, moved, loaded, and hauled through landscapes that punished both people and machines. For a truck, logging was one of the hardest jobs imaginable. The loads were heavy, the surfaces were unstable, the weather was harsh, the roads could be little more than tracks through mud and forest. A weak truck would not last. A poorly built truck would cost money, time, and maybe lives. Kenworth built its reputation in that kind of world. The company learned that strength was not just about size, it was about design, balance, cooling, drivetrain, chassis, serviceability, driver control. Every part mattered. A truck that broke down in the wrong place was not just inconvenient, it could stop an entire operation. So Kenworth became associated with durability, with trucks built for real work, with machines that could survive the places where ordinary vehicles could not. That early identity stayed with the brand. Even as highways improved and trucks became more comfortable, Kenworth kept something of that logging road spirit. A Kenworth was supposed to be tough. Chapter 5: The Rise of the Diesel Truck. As trucking developed, engines became one of the biggest turning points. Early trucks often used gasoline engines, but heavy transport needed torque, economy, and endurance. Diesel power became increasingly important. Diesel engines were well suited to heavy work. They could pull large loads, run long hours, and offer better fuel economy for serious trucking operations. For the trucking industry, diesel was not just a technical change. It changed what trucks could do. Longer routes became more practical. Heavier freight became more manageable. Fleet economics changed. The driver's experience changed too. Diesel trucks had a different sound, a deeper rhythm, a feeling of power that became part of truck culture. Kenworth grew with that diesel age. As engines improved, trucks became more capable. They could haul farther, pull harder, and operate more efficiently. The road network was also expanding. America was becoming a highway nation, and Kenworth was ready for that world. Chapter 6: World War II and Industrial Demand. The Second World War changed American industry. Factories shifted to military production. Companies that once built civilian machines became part of the war effort. Kenworth, like many manufacturers, contributed to military and industrial needs during the war years. War demanded vehicles, parts, equipment, logistics, and production capacity. It forced companies to build at speed and scale. It also strengthened the connection between transport and national power. A modern war could not be fought without trucks. Trucks moved supplies, fuel, weapons, food, equipment, men. They were not always glamorous. They were not always the machines that appeared on posters or in heroic headlines. But without trucks, armies stopped moving. This was one of the great lessons of the 20th century. Mobility mattered. Logistics mattered. And after the war, the same industrial energy that had powered military production helped reshape civilian transport. America entered a new age of roads, freight, suburbs, manufacturing, and long-distance trucking. Kenworth would become part of that new world. Chapter 7: PACCAR and a New Era. In 1945, Kenworth was acquired by Pacific Car and Foundry, the company that would later become PACCAR. This was a major turning point. Kenworth was no longer just an independent truck builder from Seattle. It became part of a larger industrial company with deeper resources and wider ambitions. PACCAR's acquisition gave Kenworth a new foundation for growth. The post-war years were full of opportunity. America needed trucks. The economy was expanding. Highways were improving. Long-distance freight was becoming more important. Factories, farms, ports, and stores all depended on road transport. And drivers needed machines that could handle longer hauls and heavier work. Kenworth's identity fit the moment. Strong trucks, premium engineering, custom options, a reputation for durability. As the trucking industry professionalized, Kenworth became one of the brands associated with serious operators, companies and drivers who wanted a truck built not just to move, but to endure. Chapter 8: The Highway Age. The growth of highways changed trucking forever. Before modern highway systems, long-distance trucking was slower, rougher, and more uncertain. But as roads improved, trucks could cover greater distances more reliably. Freight could move faster, businesses could operate differently. Warehouses, factories, and distribution networks became more dependent on road transport. The truck driver became one of the central figures of modern logistics. Long hours, distant routes, weather, traffic, loneliness, skill, responsibility. The road became both workplace and way of life. Kenworth trucks fit naturally into that world. They were not simply vehicles. For many drivers, especially owner-operators, the truck was also an identity. A Kenworth could be a business, a home away from home, a source of pride, a machine polished at truck stops, recognized on highways and trusted through long nights. This is where Kenworth's image became bigger than engineering. It became part of road culture. Chrome, long hoods, sleeper cabs, diesel sound, CB radio, truck stops, convoys, endless white lines. The Kenworth name became tied to the romance and reality of trucking. Chapter 9: The 900 Series and the W900 Legend. Among Kenworth's most famous trucks, one name stands out: the W900. Introduced as part of Kenworth's 900 series lineage, the W900 became one of the most iconic conventional trucks in North America. It had the look people associate with classic American trucking: a long hood, a strong stance, a bold grille, a cab set behind the engine. It looked powerful even when parked. The W900 became especially loved by owner-operators, drivers who valued not just function, but style, pride, and individuality. A truck like the W900 was not only a machine for hauling freight, it was a statement. It said the driver cared about the truck. It said the truck had presence. It said the road had a tradition. Over the years, the W900 became one of Kenworth's signature models. It appeared in fleets, custom builds, shows, films, photographs, and the memories of people who grew up watching big rigs move across highways. Its importance is not only mechanical, it is cultural. The W900 represents the classic idea of the American long-haul truck. Big, strong, recognizable, built for distance, built for pride. Chapter 10. The Cabover Years. Not every legendary Kenworth had a long hood. For decades, cabover trucks were a major part of trucking. A cabover places the driver above or ahead of the engine, creating a shorter overall vehicle length. This mattered when length regulations were tighter and operators wanted to maximize trailer space. Kenworth built famous cabover models, including trucks that became familiar across highways in the mid to late 20th century. Cabovers had a different personality. The driver sat high and forward with a commanding view of the road. They looked compact, upright, and purposeful. For many drivers, climbing into a cabover was part of a different era of trucking. A harder ride sometimes, a different feel, a different relationship with the road. But cabovers played a major role in freight history. They helped fleets work within regulations. They became symbols of a time when American trucking looked different, and Kenworth's cabovers earned their place in that story. Even as conventional long-hood trucks later became more dominant in North America, the cabover remains one of the classic shapes of trucking history. Chapter 11. Custom-built reputation. One reason Kenworth developed such a loyal following was its reputation for customization. Truck buyers often need different specifications, different engines, axles, suspensions, cab layouts, sleepers, wheelbases, frames, fuel tanks, interior features. A truck hauling logs in the mountains does not need exactly the same setup as a truck hauling refrigerated freight across the interstate. Kenworth's strength was understanding that trucking is not one job. It is thousands of jobs. And each job asks something different from the machine. This custom-built reputation gave Kenworth a premium image. It became a brand for people who wanted their truck built around their work. For owner-operators, that mattered deeply. An owner-operator often lives with the truck in a way most people never understand. The truck is office, tool, investment, living space, and identity. A good truck can make the job easier. A bad truck can make every mile feel longer. Kenworth understood that a truck was not just bought, it was lived in. Chapter 12. Kenworth around the world. Although Kenworth is strongly associated with North American trucking, its story reached beyond the United States. Kenworth became important in Canada, Mexico, Australia, and other markets. Australia in particular became a major part of Kenworth's story. Australian trucking brings its own demands: long distances, heavy loads, high heat, remote routes, road trains, harsh operating conditions. A truck in Australia may face a different kind of test than one crossing American interstates. Kenworth's reputation for strength and custom engineering suited that environment. The brand became respected in Australian heavy transport, where durability and practicality are not optional. This global reach showed that Kenworth's identity could travel. The details changed from country to country. The roads changed, the rules changed, the loads changed. But the core idea stayed the same: build a truck that can do the job. Chapter 13. Peterbilt, PACCAR, and the premium truck family. Kenworth's story is also connected to another famous truck name, Peterbilt. PACCAR acquired Peterbilt in 1958, creating a powerful pair of premium truck brands under the same corporate family. Kenworth and Peterbilt became sister brands, but they kept different identities. Both were respected. Both had loyal fans. Both became icons of American trucking. For PACCAR, the combination was powerful. It gave the company two major names in the heavy-duty truck market, each with its own history, styling, dealer network, and customer base. Kenworth continued to stand for durability, engineering, and custom-built work. Peterbilt carried its own image of premium trucking and classic American style. Together, they helped PACCAR become one of the strongest truck manufacturers in the world. But for drivers, the rivalry and loyalty remained personal. Some people were Kenworth people. Some were Peterbilt people. And in trucking culture, that kind of loyalty matters. Because a truck brand is rarely just a badge. It is a belief. Chapter 14. The Modern Kenworth. As trucking moved into the late 20th and early 21st centuries, the industry changed again. Fuel economy became more important. Emissions rules became stricter. Driver comfort became a bigger focus. Electronics entered the cab. Aerodynamics became more advanced. Fleet management became more data-driven. A truck was no longer only a mechanical machine. It became a connected, regulated, computer-managed workplace on wheels. Kenworth adapted. Modern models such as the T680 represented a different kind of truck from the old long hood classics. More aerodynamic, more efficient, more focused on fleet operations, more advanced inside. The T680 was designed for a world where fuel costs, emissions, safety systems, driver comfort, and uptime all matter. It may not have the same old-school romance as a W900, but it represents the modern reality of trucking. The freight still has to move, but now it has to move efficiently, cleanly, safely, reliably, and with technology watching almost every mile. Chapter 15. The Future, Electric, Hydrogen, and what comes next. The trucking industry now faces one of the biggest transitions in its history. For more than a century, heavy trucks have been shaped by internal combustion. Gasoline first, then diesel. Diesel became the heartbeat of modern trucking. But the future may not sound the same. Battery electric trucks, hydrogen fuel cell trucks, renewable fuels, hybrid systems, autonomous technology, and advanced logistics software are all part of the conversation. Kenworth has entered that future with zero-emission models and hydrogen fuel cell plans, including the T680 FCEV developed with Toyota fuel cell technology. This is not just about new machines, it is about the future of freight. How do you move heavy goods while reducing emissions? How do you keep range, payload, reliability, and refueling practical? How do you support drivers and fleets through a major technology shift? How do you build the next generation of trucks without losing the trust built over the last century? These questions are not easy. Heavy trucking is one of the hardest sectors to transform. A truck is not a small commuter car. It works long hours. It carries heavy loads. It must make money. It must survive real routes, real deadlines, real weather, and real pressure. The future of Kenworth will depend on whether it can carry its old reputation into a new age. The same promise, but with different technology. A truck built to work. Chapter 16. The Truck Driver and the Machine. The history of Kenworth is not only about companies, factories, engines, and models. It is about drivers. Because a truck without a driver is only a parked machine. The driver gives the truck its story. Long nights, early starts, rain on the windscreen, coffee at a truck stop, a trailer loaded before dawn, headlights stretching across empty road, radio voices in the dark, the low sound of diesel under the cab, the feeling of climbing a grade with weight behind you, the patience of traffic, the loneliness of distance, the satisfaction of arriving. Truck drivers carry the hidden weight of modern life: food, fuel, furniture, medicine, steel, timber, machinery, clothes, parcels. Almost everything people use has spent time on a truck, and brands like Kenworth became part of that invisible system. A Kenworth is not just a product. It is part of the chain that keeps shelves stocked, houses built, farms supplied, factories running, and cities alive. That is why trucking history matters, because the road is the bloodstream of modern life, and trucks are what keep it moving. Chapter 17. What Kenworth built. Kenworth built more than trucks. It built a reputation for strength, for custom engineering, for premium heavy-duty machines, for listening to the people who actually used the trucks. It built vehicles for logging roads, for highways, for construction sites, for long-haul freight, for owner-operators, for fleets, for countries where distance and conditions test every part of a machine. Kenworth became part of how people imagine the open road, the long hood of a W900, the tall stance of a cabover, the aerodynamic shape of a T680, the shine of chrome under fuel station lights, the sound of a truck rolling through the night. The road is full of machines most people barely notice. But without them, modern life stops quickly. Kenworth helped build the kind of trucks that made that movement possible. Chapter 18. The truck company that built the open road. Kenworth's story began with practical needs: move the load, survive the road, serve the customer, do the work. From those simple demands came a company that lasted more than a century. It began in the Pacific Northwest, where logging roads and heavy loads demanded toughness. It grew through the rise of diesel trucking, the highway age, post-war freight, cabovers, long hood conventionals, owner-operator culture, PACCAR ownership, global expansion, and modern low-emission technology. Its trucks became tools, then symbols, then legends. Kenworth is not just about transport. It is about the relationship between people, machines, and distance. It is about the driver looking out over the road before sunrise, the freight that has to arrive, the mountain pass, the night shift, the rain, the engine, the miles. For more than 100 years, Kenworth has been part of that story, and the road is still changing. The trucks may become quieter, the engines may change, the fuel may change, the technology may become smarter, but the promise remains the same: build a machine strong enough for the work, trusted enough for the driver, and ready for the road ahead. Because the history of Kenworth is not only the history of a truck company, it is the history of how the modern world learned to move. One load, one driver, one highway, one long night at a time.